Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Transformation Tuesday. Got some intro music for you guys today. Got a beautiful sunset behind us here in Scarborough, Western Australia. And tonight we're talking about peak performance habits. Just waiting for a couple of you guys to jump on. Enjoy the tunes. For those of you guys that are wondering who this is Slightly Stupid. A track called Glocks. There we go. Intro music. Welcome to Transformation Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Give us a shout out as you jump on, guys. I'd love to hear from you guys how your week's been and what you're looking forward to about upgrading some peak performance habits. I'm going to be diving super deep today into upgrading our habits. How do we get more? Again, my whole philosophy for living is how do we get more out of life? And one of the questions I'm going to be covering tonight is peak performance habits. How do we define, well, what is peak performance? How do we actually install these habits? How do we make them stick? And I think you guys all agree that, mastery of life comes down to habits. And one of my very good mentors I believe it was allegedly Aristotle, but it turns out it was actually Durant. And he said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit." So what we're talking about here is living life on our terms. We're talking about transforming our life through creating and nurturing and cultivating habits. And I'm going to share with you some really powerful habits tonight and how to integrate those. Hey Dave, good to see you here, mate. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. So I've studied habits. I've studied curating habits. I've failed miserably creating some habits, and I've also succeeded incredibly creating some really powerful habits. So I'd like to share with you what I've discovered and how we can take our habit creation to the next level, particularly in the context of the peak performance habits, the things that move the needle the most. So let's go straight into it. So the first thing I want to say, that's like the thing that governs all of our habits, is we need to be so obsessed with creating habits in our life. We need to be so obsessed that this just becomes our mission. This becomes an obsession. This becomes a lifelong mission. Because if we just treat this like, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit of a go at it and then we'll see how we go, it's not going to happen. Right? To cultivate anything, it takes a long-term pursuit. It takes energy. It takes consistency. It takes focus. It takes resilience. So if you're thinking that transforming habits and creating the life that you want, the ideal life, is just a simple quick fix, it's not the case. And I've got bad news for you. It's actually a little bit more challenging than that. So the first thing is we have to care about this. We really have to be devoted to this. And if it's not important, we won't implement it. So that's the first thing I just wanted to add as a layer to this. Diving straight in, I've got 3 categories here of high performance. Now, there's many different categories of peak performance. I want to give you my 3. My 3 are impact, productivity, and energy. And I want to explain a bit about each of these as I go through. But these are the 3 major pillars that I believe are the major pillars of peak performance. So I'm just going to give you what I believe cultivates the highest degree of impact. And I'm just going to, in no particular order, I'm going to start going through these. The first one is vision. We need to have a vision for who we are striving to become. So in order for us to even decide what habits we want to instill, what habits we want to create, we've got to work out, well, what's the ultimate version of us? What's the most authentic? What's the greatest version of us that we're striving to become? Now, the beautiful thing about this process is when you work out your vision, which is all over here, and you work out, well, where are we now? What we actually create is we create awareness of a gap. We create awareness of, oh, geez, I've got some work to do. Now, because in life, perfection does not exist, right? In human form, in this form, perfection just simply doesn't exist because there's always a whole nother level. So by us, first of all, creating a vision for ourselves in terms of what's our ideal way of being, what's our ideal scenario, what's our ideal situation, what are our ideal goals, what's that ideal life that we're pursuing. By us even defining that in the first place, it creates awareness, I've got a gap. Now that's the first process, because that's the first step. Because what you're not aware of, you can't change. If you don't have definition behind, well, what's the ultimate vision for our life, we have got nothing to work with. So if you don't have a destination plugged into your GPS, then you're not going to have anywhere to go, and you're just going to be driving around the block, or you're just going to be aimlessly drifting and wandering through life. So by us creating a vision for ourselves, that's the starting point. Now, you might be asking, well, how do we create a vision for ourselves? Well, I suggest you create a vision for ultimately, who do you want to be in your life? What are the characteristics? What are the attributes? What are the traits? What are all the personality functions that you want to adopt, and habits? What are the habits? What are the skills? What's the knowledge? What's the experience? What's the education that you want to be striving for? And define that, get clarity on that. Before we even start this conversation, you've got to work out, well, what are the habits that are important to you? Now, I'm going to be sharing with you what I believe are some really important habits. However, you're going to have some really important ones for you to execute on. So again, you've got to ask, well, what's most important to you right now? Is it your career? Is it your relationship? Is it business? Is it finance? Is it health? Whatever that most important dimension is, you can create a vision for yourself in that dimension. In fact, I recommend creating a vision for yourself in every single one of those dimensions. So you define what is the ideal version of you in every single dimension: finances, relationship, career, business, health, social life, romance, etc. So by creating that vision, you create awareness of the gap, and now you could do something about it. So now we get on to creating the next step is creating a plan to execute, to develop all those skills and all those parts of those habits that we're wanting to develop. So that's the first really powerful process, is creating the awareness of the gap about where we are now, where do we want to be. The next major element is purpose. We have to have a reason why we're wanting to experience peak performance. If we don't have a reason why, if we don't have a compelling purpose, if we haven't tapped into the reason why we're here in this life, and I know that's a really big concept for a lot of people, but if we haven't accessed what the real reason why we're here is, then it becomes very difficult to be motivated and to strive to go through all of the challenges and have the tenacity and the consistency and the willpower to shift a lot of these habits that we've had from very, very early in our life. We've got to have a reason why. So we've got to tap into our purpose. So again, a whole nother exercise I recommend everyone simply must get clear on is, why are we here? And if you don't know why you're here, your purpose is to figure out why you're here. So I can give you plenty of recommendations, plenty of exercises, plenty of advice on how to unlock and how to get greater clarity around your purpose. But ultimately, it's the core question of, what are you here to experience? Your soul has come down to this experience as a human, and you're here to experience something very unique, something very special, and it's different from every single person. So you've got to tune in and figure out, well, what is that? Because if you're just going through aimlessly through life, just thinking, oh, well, maybe it's going to fall out of the sky, maybe I'll one day stumble across it, right? Well, if you have an attitude of like, it's going to happen randomly, then sometimes that's not always the best approach. Sometimes we have to have an agenda. We have to actually get conscious, and we've got to say, you know what? I want to find out what that is sooner rather than later, because life is precious. Life is so incredibly precious, and it's so finite. So we need to have an attitude of discovery, of, look, let's take a look inside. Hey Dave, I see your question. What is the vision, ideal version of you in each of your life? I can't see the rest of your question there, Dave, but thank you for the comment, mate. Appreciate your commentary. So we've really got to get clear on our purpose. Now, I've spoken about this a lot, but I've got to tell you guys, if you haven't tapped into, and if you don't know and have not very, very clear on why you're here in this life, it's very, very difficult to stay motivated. It's difficult to be the highest expression of you. It just makes life so much more difficult than it has to be. So one of the questions I want to guide you through on to discover your purpose is really asking questions like, why are you here? If there was a reason why you're here, what is that? What is the experience? What is the gift that you've got? What is the unique signature of your vibration, your frequency? What is the uniqueness of you, and what are you here to experience and share and be in this life? That's what life is about. So definitely it's worth investing some time focusing on purpose. There's about 150,000 books on Amazon to do with life purpose. So my recommendation is, I'll drop in some links in the show notes after this of some good resources that you can turn to go through some questioning, some reflective processes to help you come up with that answer, because I know it's not an easy one, and there's so much to this topic. This is a whole nother Facebook Live. I'm going to do another Facebook Live on discovering and unlocking and activating your purpose. So I'm just going to move on to the next one, which is, we've also got to identify, well, what are our fears? Now, the thing about fears are, this is a very misunderstood concept. A lot of people think that fears are just universal and that everyone has them and, well, that's just it. Well, actually, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Not everyone has the same fears. Some people experience fears and other people don't. Like, for example, some people are afraid of public speaking. Other people are public speakers. So what's the difference? Well, there's nothing universal about it. People have just taken action. They've gotten over it. They've changed their belief system. And ultimately, here's a big nugget of wisdom I want you to take away, is the fear is the byproduct. The fear is a consequence of what you believe about reality. I'll say that again. Your fears are simply a byproduct about what you believe about reality. So it's your beliefs that are driving your fears. I'll give you an example. In order to be afraid of public speaking, for example, you need to have a specific set of beliefs that elicits the emotion of fear in that context. Yeah? Because it's not a universal experience. It is a fear that gets derived from a belief system. So, for example, people that are afraid of public speaking probably have a belief like, oh, if I make a mistake, then someone's going to judge me, and then I'm going to feel like I'm not good enough. And again, if we follow this all the way down the bottom of the rabbit hole, have a think about it. In order for us to actually worry about what someone else is going to think about us, implies, and actually this is the case, it means that we actually have a lack of worthiness. We have a lack of feeling like we're good enough, because what we're doing is we're outsourcing our validation. We're outsourcing our feeling of good enough to someone else, to someone else's opinion. So what it's doing is it's actually saying, well, if you like me, or if you approve of me, or if you give me validation, and if you smile at me, then I like me. So it's saying, if you like me, I like me. Right? That's the pattern. So fundamentally, it's a lack of worthiness. It's a lack of feeling good enough, and it's a lack of self-love. Boom. That's what it is. Try it on. If you had unconditional self-love, if you had unconditional worthiness, about I am worthy, you could do absolutely anything and completely flop and fail, and it wouldn't make a difference, because you'd be like, I've got my infinite worthiness shield on right now, and not a single thing anyone can do or say is going to infiltrate my shield of worthiness. So ultimately, whenever we're experiencing a fear, typically you can always trace it back to beliefs around lack of worthiness, beliefs around not being good enough, beliefs around needing external validation. It's the human pattern of, hey Mariana, good to see you here. It's the pattern of, I need validation from external ABC, XYZ. I need you to say something, do something. I need recognition. I need validation from some external source outside of me in order for me to then choose to feel worthy, to feel love, in order to feel good enough. So that's the fundamental human pattern, which has been trained into us from a very, very early age. From the moment we started to walk, our parents are applauding us. Well done, little Johnny. You're walking. Well done. You're amazing, right? And then when you fail your maths test, look out. You get a bollocking. You're in trouble. So straight away we're getting trained as a little kid. We're getting trained. We're getting trained. We literally it's like the carrot and the stick. So we are being taught when we do certain things, we get validation, or that validation gets withheld. So we get trained to seek validation from others. So that's a big thing. So how does this relate to peak performance? Well, we've got to put on our agenda to hack every single one of these fears. Now, in order to hack the fears, in order to move beyond the fears, as you've probably heard from Dr. Susan Jeffers, yes, one way is feeling the fear and doing it anyway, which is what sociologists call systematic desensitization, which is just a fancy word for saying just do the thing over and over and eventually you're not afraid of it. But to go a level deeper, it's recognizing, well, we've got a series of limiting beliefs that are actually cultivating and creating and generating all of our fears. So yes, we can push through the fears by taking action. But an even more powerful way is to go a level deeper and actually recognize, hang on, well, how am I even generating this fear in the first place? What do I need to believe? What's my programming such that the fear is actually being derived? Now, when you create a hit list of all of your fears, and then also work out what are the limiting beliefs that are creating those fears, that's the most advanced way to push beyond your fears, because you're now understanding them rather than just hitting them with brute force and just pushing through it. You can actually understand what's the pattern, what are the habits that we've conditioned ourselves, and then we can break through them a lot easier. So when you understand a fear, when you understand a belief, sometimes it magically dissolves. It's got that kind of power. The next aspect of peak performance is productivity. So Productivity, how do I define productivity? I define productivity as just getting shit done, actually making stuff happen, actually doing a task and completing it, following through on it, committing to it, and ticking it off the list. Ultimately, that's how you measure productivity, is the amount of completion. It really is the concept of completion. So how do we become more productive? Well, the biggest way we can become more productive is to not be distracted, because distractions, they contribute, like the statistics are amazing. The amount of time wasted for the average person in terms of the amount of distraction. One of the studies that I read was that about 3 hours a day. 3 hours a day is the amount of time wasted through distractions. Right, so 3 hours a day, every day for the rest of your life. That's a huge amount. So what's one of the best ways you can avoid distractions? Well, first of all, please try this out. Implement this habit straight away tomorrow morning. First of all, you shouldn't have your phone charging next to you. If you have a phone next to you when you're charging it, do not put it next to your bed, because as your phone's charging, it's emitting EMF, electromagnetic radiation, and it's not good for your body. So you should be charging your phone in another room. Buy yourself a $5 alarm clock off Amazon and set your alarm that way. Have your phone charging in a whole other room. Now, second to that, when you get up in the morning, do not check your phone. Literally do not check your phone for at least the first hour. I don't check my phone and messages for at least 2 hours, because I don't want the outside world to infiltrate my focus. I don't want to be distracted by social media and other people's agendas. So turn your phone either off or simply turn it on flight mode. Check out of your phone for at least the first hour as a minimum, and watch your life transform. Because the first thing, I'm going to do a whole nother Facebook here on morning rituals and how to start your day, because the first hour of your day is going to define how the whole rest of your day goes. So you've got to win the first hour of the day to then set up the rest of your day for a win. That's just the way that it works. And a lot of people, the first thing they do is they wake up and they just roll over and they'll either just jump on their phone. Well, what sort of way is that to start your day? You want to start your day powerfully. You want to start your day, again, I'm going to do a whole nother Facebook Live on this topic because this is powerful, but certainly avoid checking your phone first thing. Please promise me, guys, drop a comment here, promise me that you're going to you're going to commit to not checking your phone for the first hour and test it out. Do it for a week. Get into the habit. This is the first habit I want to give you. Put your phone in another room, charge it in another room. Again, as I said, it's not healthy for you to be charging your phone in the same room because of the EMF. Anyway, just do it, and trust me, watch your morning, watch your day get off to a far better start. Okay, next one is planning. Okay, in order to activate peak performance, we need to have a plan, right? We've got to have a plan for all areas of our life. We need to have a plan for our health, our lifestyle, our finances, our business, our career, our relationships, everything. We have to have a plan for everything. Yeah, I might sound like I'm pretty militant when it comes to planning and structuring and designing life, but think about it. You could either let your life happen to you randomly, and look, I'm a big fan of being in the flow and going on adventures, and life is magical, and sometimes things happen when we least expect it. However, what we're talking about here is we're talking about designing our life. We're talking about consciously creating our life as opposed to unconsciously letting it happen by accident. So by planning our life, this is the fastest way of creating the life that we want. So really, we've got to plan our life. We have to plan our year. We have to plan our week. We have to plan our day. So what does this mean? Well, every day you want to have a plan. Every day when you wake up. Now, I do my daily planning the night before. I have a plan of my whole next day's tasks, activities, responsibilities, goals, etc. I have that done the night before. So that way when I wake up, I don't require any energy to check into my office, come into my office, and I look at, right, what's my agenda? Great, it's already laid out. I already have a plan. I have a schedule of hour by hour, all the things in my entire day and all the tasks that I want to create. So having a plan, that's what you want. Now, that's an example of a plan in the context of my business life. Now, what you can also do is you can have a plan for your relationship, right? If you want to have a great relationship, what you do is you plan out what are the functions, what are the things you want to experience in your relationship. How many date nights do you want, right? How many special occasions do you want? How many times do you want to have sex? Looking at all these factors and say, right, how do we reverse engineer? How do we design the ultimate relationship? Same thing with your health. Designing your meals for the week. Designing the amount of exercise you're going to be doing, right? Looking at the amount of sleep you're getting. So, and I'm going to touch on health a little bit later. Hey, Angela, I hope you can hear the rest of this. Let me know if the audio is still working. I hope it's working for you guys. So we've got to plan our life. Now, to take planning to the next level is planning is the strategy. Planning is, well, what do we actually want to create? Now, to take it to the next level, you want to schedule that plan. So it's all in good just writing down what you want to do, but to take it to the next level of mastery, you now schedule it in your calendar. It now goes into your calendar. So it's like, when you've got so if you go book a dentist appointment, right? That goes in your appointment and it goes in your calendar and you don't miss it. Well, what you want to do is you want to book appointments with yourself and you commit to it, you follow through, you don't miss it. So you treat your calendar like your secret weapon. Your calendar is the place where you take all the ideas and the to-do lists and you schedule it and it starts to happen. So anything I want to happen, I put in my calendar. If I want to make a phone call to someone, I'll put in my calendar. I'll book a meeting with them. So this is a real secret little hack, is what goes in your calendar, it becomes a finite block of time that now becomes accounted for, instead of it just disappearing into the ether. So very, very powerful process. So if it doesn't go in your calendar, minimal chance of it happening. So again, I recommend, if you're not already using your calendar as your secret weapon, use your calendar, schedule everything. I have so many things in my calendar scheduled. If it's not in my calendar, it just doesn't get done. So that's my really powerful bit of advice. Next bit of advice is, in order to unlock peak performance, is we've got to review our life, we've got to review our business, review our career, review our relation. We've got to review everything, because what gets measured gets managed. If we don't measure it, if we don't track it, then all of a sudden it could be like 12 months from now, and all of a sudden it's New Year's Eve, and we're now reflecting on our life, and we go, geez, that went pretty quick. Where did that go? How did I do? So my philosophy here is checking every single day, right? I have a daily check-in. At the end of my day, I review my performance. I have a series of guiding questions, and I journal, and I block out about between 20 minutes and half an hour to just do a brain dump of everything that I learnt, all the areas of weakness, the areas of strength, what did I enjoy, what was I grateful for, what were the learnings, what were the failings, what would I do differently next time, what are the goals that I've achieved, what are the goals I haven't achieved. So there's so much gold that happens every day from these experiences. If you don't allocate a block of time at the end of the day to capture the learnings, you've just missed out on an incredible opportunity to actually upgrade your habits, your skills, your knowledge, your experience, and create change. So the quicker the frequency of that review process means the quicker you can update, the quicker you can upgrade, the quicker you can adjust. So every day, this is another habit I recommend doing. Start with 5 minutes a day. But as I said, I'm up to between 20 minutes and half an hour a day of review. And I'm reviewing all areas of my life. I'm reviewing how well did I sleep? How much water did I drink? What sort of, did I keep my promises? Did I achieve my goals that day? I'm measuring all the different important metrics of my life. Yeah, I'm measuring my energy. I'm reviewing everything, because what gets looked at, we can actually improve. So start taking a look at this. Now, another process is a weekly review. Now, a weekly review is even more comprehensive. So I block out an hour on my Sunday. Now I do my weekly review. Now my weekly review is more of a bigger picture. It's more of looking at just ranking the major categories of life, which are things like relationships, social life, health, fitness, nutrition, sleep, etc., those sorts of things. So I'm now reviewing all those parts of my life and my business from a big picture point of view and seeing, am I on track? And I'm now checking in with my goals ahead. I'm checking in with my 90-day goals. I'm checking in with my annual goals. I'm seeing, am I on track? So that's now a weekly process that's non-negotiable. It's scheduled in my calendar on a Sunday evening. So that happens. And so that way it gives me a weekly review process. So I've got daily review processes and I've got a weekly review process. Now I also have a 3-monthly process review, and I also have a big annual end of year review process as well, which you could imagine it's a big one. So the annual review process, that's like a whole day. That's a huge big day of reviewing everything that happened in that year. And that's going back and checking in on my diary and reviewing everything. So these are the powerful habits when you cultivate these and when you schedule them in your calendar. You basically guarantee, with that structure that you've scheduled, to take a really close look at all the areas that are either performing or underperforming, and you can evaluate it, you can course correct, you can make adjustments. So this structure is something that's going to be really, really powerful for creating peak performance. So another big one that I really recommend is really, really powerful is planning your education. Right? Planning your education. Now, again, I made the mistake when I graduated. I thought, I'm done with university. This was about back in 2000 and when was it? It was about 2007. As soon as I finished university, I just decided, screw that, I'm not going to learn anything ever again. And what I did was I went into hibernation. And I experienced no growth for about 10 years until I got back into personal development and I had my awakening, and which is the reason why I'm sharing all this with you now, because I went through such a period of stunted growth, and then I realized, actually there's so much more to learn in life. Hence the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing all this with you. I got your question today, we'll come to you in a second. So the reason why I'm so passionate about sharing this is because our education is one of the most important parts of our life. Our education is how we gain new skill, knowledge, and experience. So if we're wanting to get better results, sometimes we need new skills. Sometimes we need extra specialist knowledge. Sometimes we've got to get new experiences in order to get better. So if we're thinking that we're done in terms of a learning context, if we think that we know it all, then we're never going to activate peak performance, because we just think, well, I'm all good. I'm just going to settle. So we've got to check in and say, am I settling or am I striving for peak performance? So education is key, and we've got to identify what are the critical success factors of education in terms of the skill, the knowledge, the experience that we need to acquire to be world class, to be good. I mean, this could be good at our career. This could be good at a relationship. This could be good as a friend, good at health, good at everything. We've got to assess every quadrant, every part of our life, and understand, well, what am I missing? Am I missing skill, knowledge, experience, courage, commitment, tenacity, planning, structure, accountability? What are those ingredients that I'm missing? And then create a plan to acquire that skill. So here's the thing about brain plasticity and what Carol Dweck calls the growth mindset is our brains have an infinite capacity for creating new neural pathways and new neural connections. So we can keep learning, we can keep improving our memory, we can keep expanding our skill set until the day we die. So great news, because it means we can keep increasing our talent and our ability regardless of our age. So this is a beautiful concept. The last little element that I want to leave you guys with, because I'm just mindful of keeping this under half an hour so that you guys can get back to being productive, preparing for your wind down, your evening ritual, which I'm going to share with you as well, is getting enough sleep. So this fits under the category of energy. And Dave, I've just got your question there. Where do you keep track of this each day, each week? Tell me a little more about what you mean there, Dave. But where I keep track of it is I have a journal. So in my journal, Dave, I actually have a daily review and then I have a weekly review. So it's this one here. It's this little journal. And so that's my daily and weekly review. Now, I also have started experimenting with a master spreadsheet, which is a little bit more complicated, which is now got a few other extra variables in it, which make it a little bit more efficient rather than writing it out by hand. So I'll let you know how that goes. And if you want, I can send you a copy of it. I'll actually probably drop a link in the show notes so you guys can kind of see how I do that review process and some of the guiding questions that I ask myself. Because the questions that we ask ourselves are ultimately that govern the quality of the answers that we create, that we produce in our conscious mind. So powerful questions equals powerful answers. So we've got to make sure we get enough sleep. Sleep is so incredibly important. These things here, these are my blue blockers. These are Swannies. So you can see here, Swanwick. So these guys have been wearing these for a couple of years now. And I put these on just before sunset, or just around about now each night. And these obviously keep out the artificial light, which interrupt, I believe it's our melatonin, which I think it's melatonin. I think I pronounced that right, melatonin. So anyway, since I've been wearing these for the last couple of years, my sleep quality has increased dramatically. So I remember my dreams. I just feel more energized when I wake up, and just feel more alert. So definitely recommend getting yourself a pair of these, because these things are amazing. So they're Swannies. So sleep's incredibly important. Now, one thing I've recently started doing in the last 3 months is actually setting myself a sleep alarm. So my sleep alarm is an alarm that goes off and it tells me, Chris, it's time to wind down. Because what I used to do is I'd just be so engrossed in what I was doing. Sometimes I'd be up till like 10, 11, 12 o'clock just crunching through projects. And all of a sudden it's like 12 or 1 o'clock and I'm like, okay, I've got to go to bed now. And then my sleep would just get destroyed. So what I now do is my sleep becomes a non-negotiable. My sleep alarm goes off at 8 o'clock. And as soon as my sleep alarm goes off, I go, cool, okay, tools down, we're done, right? We are done for the day. So I recommend you have some sort of wind down alarm, some sort of sleep alarm, some sort of trigger to remind you, okay, cool, we've got to go to bed soon. I also have an alarm when my swannies need to go on. So my swannies go on at literally like now. They're going on just as the sun's going down. And once you start to make your sleep a non-negotiable, again, this impacts all areas of your life, because if you're not going to bed on time, early enough, then that means the next day, if you've got to wake up early, it's impacting your energy. You haven't got enough sleep, you haven't got enough rest. You can't perform at your best. You can't function at your optimum. So this is really important to make sure we prioritize our sleep. So guys, I'm gonna leave it there because there's so much more to cover on this. As I said, there's a few elements here which I'm going to do a whole other series of Facebook Lives, but I'm just going to leave those with you for now because I don't want to overwhelm you. But definitely the couple of habits there, I just want to do a bit of a mini recap. The first one there is definitely charge your phone in another room. Don't check your phone for the first at least hour in the morning, and then start to set yourself a sleep alarm so you're going to bed earlier. There's probably a heap of others there that I've covered. Anyway, I'll put them up in the show notes there as a bit of a reminder so you guys can see. Thanks, Angela. Thanks, Rod. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Awesome, guys. Well, I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm just going to leave it at that because I think we've covered some pretty cool aspects there. How good is it? How beautiful is the color in the sky? How good is this? I get to view this every single evening. It's a beautiful sunset. So thank you guys for tuning in. And please, if you guys have, hey Mike, thanks for tuning in. If you guys have questions, if you have specific areas of life or business that you're wanting improvement in, please drop some comments in, send me some messages. I'm wanting to tailor my message so it's more relevant, more powerful, more targeted. And again, my whole mission is to share the best of the stuff of what I've figured out. I'm wanting to share the gold, the knowledge, the wisdom so that people can accelerate their journey, can learn what I've managed to learn in a whole lot quicker period of time. So lots of love, guys. Wishing you an amazing week. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you again for next Transformation Tuesday. See you guys. Bye for now.